All right, well, let me introduce Laurie as people roll in here. Laurie Weston Davis is a licensed realtor in North Carolina, Pinehurst. She's the co-owner and CEO at Better Homes and Garden Real Estate Lifestyle Property Partners. You should add in more words to that. It's not long
I
enough.
try, you know.
She's been a part of countless
Brand.
associations and advisory groups, and she's an Inman ambassador. And actually, like the list goes on and on. And you're the founder of Geeky Girls. Did I get most of it?
I believe you did.
Nice.
It's, it's a list that sometimes I can't even, like, how did that happen?
It's because everybody wants to know what you think, right? Yeah, because even like in the Inman articles, when we're like debating something, everyone's always like, well, what does Laurie think? Including me, because I'm always like, she's going to show up here and tell us what we think about this. I think that one of the things that draws us to you is because you have such a wealth of knowledge of the history and the reason why the real estate industry is the way it is, but then also you're actively working in it. So you know what's happening right now. So you're in real time and you have a good foundation for us to learn why things are the way they are, right? So for the people that are watching, I asked you to come here because I kind of wanted to have a candid conversation about the industry and for, especially for new agents, kind of setting the expectation of what we think real estate is and what it actually is. And it is kind of, there's a good gap there. So we're going to talk about that today. We're going to talk about the current state of the industry. We're going to talk about splits. We're going to talk about development and training, and if you're not getting it, what to do, and how to pick a brokerage, because I mean, you're a broker owner and can't think of a better person to ask. So let's jump in. Let's start with current state. Where are we right now? What's changed that most people, new agents, but others don't really understand or know or are looking at objectively, in your opinion?
It's interesting because I really got started in real estate back in the early 2000s, and that was the time when technology was just really significantly starting to impact the industry. Believe it or not, Zillow is only a little over a decade old. It has not been around forever, and it certainly has not been in the current. I can remember when it started out, they just wanted to tell people how much their house was worth, and that was it. But anyway, so there's been a lot of significant change in the industry, I would say, over the last 10 to 15 years.
Well, if somebody didn't have Zillow, how did they find a house?
And I had to call an agent.
So that's significant right there, right? Like that's a huge change in customer and client activity.
Yeah, back in the day, the MLS printed a book and agents had to flip through the book to find listings. And you didn't know if that was still active. You had to call the other agent. I mean, it was, can you even imagine?
Right, because we didn't have text either, probably, right?
No, they didn't have cell phones.
No AOL quickly.
No. You had to pick up and dial the phone and wait.
You recognize you just did rotary, right?
Yes, that's what I mean, it wasn't like that when I first started. By the time I came along, we actually had, the MLS actually was kind of online. There was like a static desktop version you could download to your computer, so you could open it up and search even if you weren't on the internet, but you had to go in and update it every once in a while, so that you were current. But yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of change in the last several years. There's been a lot of growth. I mean, just because, the way the market has been recently, the things that have been going on in the world, the number of people entering the real estate industry, new agents is way up.
Right.
Even here locally, I mean, I'm in a very small market, but in the last, I would say 5 years, we've almost doubled the amount of real estate agents there are in this market, which is a little scary, considering we have about, so just to make numbers kind of, say we have 1,000 agents in our MLS, and we have 100 listings.
Right.
I mean, do that.
Yeah. You're freezing just a little bit.
Right
if
now.
you have anything, maybe close. You're fine, just a little.
All my stuff.
You with me? There you are.
Is that better?
So while you do that, I'm thinking too, you know, here you have the client able to access information online, which didn't happen a decade ago. You have an excess of people getting licensed versus the amount of homes and inventory there are for sale, right? So that creates a ton, it's like a pressure cooker on both a person's business, but then also on clients, right? Because there's different tactics out there of how to convince somebody to use you as your realtor. So do you want to talk about that in the current state? Like, what's happening with our clients? Like, what are they receiving in service?
Oh, well, I mean, that's a great question. I think in some ways we have become maybe more focused, some of us at least, on that client experience, and that's a big deal. And you know, and I truly believe, I mean, I'm among my many hats that I wear, obviously I'm also work with Rate My Agent a lot, and I think reviews are becoming a real gold in the industry right now, because how does the consumer decide who to work with? In the you know, in the past, they've always relied primarily on referrals from friends and family. I mean, that's all over in the statistics. Like, how did you find your agent? You ask your friend who recently bought a house, you asked your parents who they, you know, would recommend, or your neighbor, somebody you knew. But I think now, because of the way technology has impacted our lives, because of the way Amazon has impacted our lives,
sure,
you know, we look at reviews. Like, we've all, you know, before you buy anything on Amazon, you're always checking out the, you know, how many stars, how many reviews. I mean, if it's got 5 stars in one review, is that better than maybe 1,000 reviews, but maybe it's a 4.5 stars?
Right.
So we all have a better understanding and desire to see these reviews and figure out like who it is we want to work with. So I think that.
Well, can I challenge you on that a little bit?
Sure.
There are some agents that I meet that, you know, they intend to never talk to their client again. It's super transactional. So do you think we're a little divided in the way that realtors are viewing how to do business, or?
Absolutely. I think some people, you know, tend to want to rely more on the internet leads, being much more transactional. And I just had a conversation about this recently. And if you are a transactional agent, you are going to be constantly struggling for business. It's going to be a battle every day to get those leads, to convert the leads. It's a much harder road to go. Not that it's impossible, but you know, you have to have excellent systems in place, because you know, if you get 100 internet leads, somewhere maybe between 2 to 5% are going to convert, depending on the source and all this other stuff. But you know, so you're going to have to weed through a lot of stuff to get to the ones that you're going to actually convert. And that's tough. And if you don't have the right things in place, the right systems, the CRMs, the way to, you know, contact these people if you're not on the ball and ready to call them at any hour of the day or night, you know, it's a lot of work.
I always say to people, that like, if you have a certain amount of units of energy, do you want to spend them on somebody who trying to convince them of something they're not really sure of, or just pour into the people that already love you? so much
Right.
easier, right? Are
Right.
you mostly a referred agent?
So we do not buy leads at all. We
Same.
don't have never done it that way, and I can feel pretty confident in saying we never will. We
Yep.
are very much a sphere-based, relationship-based company. And here's the thing, and this is kind of, it's always kind of amazed me. I know people who will spend thousands of dollars a month to pay a lead source, a portal, whatever it is, to
Right.
get these leads. If you spent half that amount of money on your sphere,
Yes.
you'd be ahead of the game.
Yes.
So
I do that. Yes, I agree. And I am the same. I'm 100% confident that I'm not going to buy a lead ever
yeah,
again. Like, actually, I never have. I did take one from somebody else who bought, and then
yeah.
I showed them the house. And it was only like right at the beginning when I was a new agent. And then 8 months later, I went to their wedding.
Yeah.
So
Well, I
I'm
mean,
not a one-hit wonder.
well, I actually did it once many years ago. I was like, all right, I just want to see how this works. And so I
Hmm.
paid a little bit for my zip code or whatever it was, and had
Right.
some leads. And, there are bad leads. I mean, there are some good ones in there somewhere, but what happens is most agents do this. They get a few of the bad ones, and then they just give up, and then they just don't follow up on any of them. And
Right.
the secret is that's why the big portals are changing their models, where they're going to vet the leads first a little bit. They're going
Hmm.
to try to determine which ones are the real ones, and before they give back, because we did such a bad job in following up.
Right. Yeah. Traditionally, real estate agents aren't great at the follow-up.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, that's,
Do Go ahead.
yeah. Well, I think part of it, in at least in that piece, was they got so discouraged at like some of the Mickey Mouse leads and all this other stuff, that they just decided that none of them were any good, and then
Mm,
they just stopped. So,
right.
there were other people who again had those systems in place and were able to follow up with more of them and made it work. So I will
Right.
still
I
argue.
prefer being referred. And then when you show up and you're like, so it's a listing appointment, right? And
Yeah,
you got referred and you show up and the trust is already there. And you're
right.
like, this is what the price is. And I know that you saw XYZ online. This is why it's not that.
Mhm.
Allow me to guide you into the best position possible for you. And that conversation is so much easier to have with somebody who's already invested in your talent and the things that you know, right?
Yep,
And I think
absolutely.
that finding ways to leverage that is really where you can make a lot of
Mhm.
money, because I don't know about you, but I do not want to work forever. So I don't want to spend all my money on leads. I need to retain
Right.
some inside my business.
Mhm.
You want to talk about splits?
Splits.
You want to do splits? Okay.
Yeah. So, okay, we all know, for the most part, every brokerage is going to take a piece of the action.
Hmm.
How big, how small it is, how they get it, can vary.
Hmm.
But I'm here to tell you the little inside story is there's pretty much a specific cost to having an agent as part of your brokerage.
Okay.
And generally, the shakedown to that kind of minimum cost is going to be about the same no matter where you go to work.
Right.
Then on top of that, you're going to have to look and see, all right, well, okay, here I get to hang my license here. What do I get beyond that?
Hmm.
And what is that going to cost? So, if you have a larger split, hopefully you're seeing some value for that money. I mean, if you're paying your brokerage more. And there's some brokerages that it's 100%, and maybe there's a transaction fee, and you're probably not getting very much, if anything, from the brokerage other than a
Right.
place to hang your license. And
Right.
so that's kind of there's a spectrum there.
Right.
Now, I will say it can also, there's independent companies, there's franchised companies,
Hmm.
um, what you get for those dollars can be a little bit different. It's harder for a small independent to provide a lot of stuff for agents because it's costing them, at that brokerage level way more. A franchise company has the strength of the mothership providing all of this education online, the tools and everything. If you
Right.
log into one of the portals, that there's a ton of stuff that's provided that way. But I think the danger is sometimes when the broker feels like, okay, well, the mothership is providing all the stuff, so they don't become as hands-on and involved to some extent. So there's a bit balance there.
What do you mean by that?
Well, they say, oh, well, you can go look online for that. There's training online for that, rather than actually doing it with their agents.
Right.
So somewhere there's a balance in the middle where you have all this, wonderful stuff. And I'm not saying that independents can't provide a lot of that. I think there's some of the larger independents that do a fabulous job, mid-sized independents that have really smart brokers that can do some amazing stuff, who have great leadership that can, work with their agents and teach them amazing things. And that's awesome. But I think it's a little harder and it's more expensive for them. So you're probably going to get less of a deal on your split potentially to do it that way. And again, I think you have to look really hard. And this is a question I think we'll probably delve into a little bit more, is like, what's the best place for me to go work? And it comes down to, really evaluating all of these pieces and parts.
Right. Well, let's do that. So I just got licensed, let's say, and I passed the national and state, and I am going to try and get a client. And here I am trying to find a brokerage to hang my license with because I have to. And there's just all this opportunity. There's just it's overwhelming. Honestly, it is so overwhelming because I remember going through it and being like, I just don't know who to choose, what to ask, nothing. And then the other thing that I didn't realize was I didn't actually know anything, because yes, you all the things, but the actual business of real estate is a craft to be learned, which took me a second to realize.
Yeah.
So when you are trying to choose a brokerage, it can be very easy to go, I don't want to pay 50-50.
Right.
And then I'm going to keep all the money for the transactions. But the average agent, and we'll talk about this later, the average agent with 2 years of experience or less makes $8,500, down from $8,900 in 2019. So if you aren't closing any business, good for you for the 80-20 split on something you're not going to close. Right? So let's talk about why it's worth to get the training, pay the 50-50 or whatever it is. Why is it important to continually work on your craft like that?
Oh, well, I mean, so I guess one of the things I discovered very early on in real estate is it's a learning process continually. It's heck, our forms change every 6 months almost. Really,
I know we have to relearn them.
Right. So, I mean, you're going to be learning the day-to-day stuff constantly. You need to accept that you're going to be needing to educate yourself continually throughout. And that doesn't mean just the CE that you're required to take. It means a lot of things. It can mean just, reading about the industry as a whole and learning. Like, there's so much talk about, the lawsuits and buyer's agents and, where that's all going to be going in the future. But really, really learning about the industry is so important. There can be, get some designations, and it's not because you need all those letters behind your name. The consumer doesn't even know what those mean. The importance there is the education that you're getting by earning those designations. So, you can get designations, you can, there's all kinds of classes you can take online, and read, go figure out what's going on. And I will say the first few years I was in real estate, I had no idea what was going on out there in the bigger world. I mean, it's overwhelming enough just to try be doing what you're supposed to be doing every day and
Right.
attracting business and all that. And then, honestly, the bigger world opened up to me as far as truly understanding it. I didn't even know what my association did.
Right.
What NAR really was, other than a
Mhm.
thing I had to join. But then I became, volunteer at our association. I served on the board of directors. I was president, and I learned a tremendous amount just going down that path about the industry as a whole. And
Right.
I thought every MLS was like my MLS. No, there's a wide array of types of MLSs and how they function and work. And just kind
Mm.
of having that understanding of the bigger world helps you, I think, even in the day to day.
Right.
So,
Well, what happens if you've chosen a brokerage
mhm,
and then you start this worldly learning
yeah. Mhm,
and then you realize mm, what, and you realize maybe you should be getting more? Like,
mhm,
how do you know that you're in the right spot?
yeah.
Like for
Um,
development and training and things like that.
right. So over the years, I've had people ask me a lot, like, what's the best company to go work for? And
Mhm.
there is no single answer to that. And what I
Right.
always tell agents, new agents, one, you're it's not like your typical job interview where you're going there to convince them to hire you. You're going there to interview them and find out what they offer, and make sure that what they're offering is what you need.
Right.
And so, one, when you're going to interviews, have your notebook. You know, you I don't know. When I interview an agent, I kind of tell them what they should be asking other companies when they go talk to them. I'm like, if you need to ask them
Here's the
about
cheat
this.
sheet.
Yeah,
Well,
like
what is that? What do you tell them?
help you. Um, well, for me, one of the things that's super important is really just the leadership in the company.
Mm.
No matter what it is, if that leadership, if that broker in charge, the owners, whoever it may be that you're going to be dealing with when you're new should be daily basis.
Yes.
um,
Yep.
that one, they're available to you. How
Hmm.
do they give you you better have their cell phone number, and you better feel comfortable calling them, texting them anytime during what could be realtor business hours.
Right.
Could be
Hmm.
later in the evening than most. Do they have the culture in the office that aligns with who you are? That there can be all sorts of different cultures in different offices. Are
Hmm.
you And honestly, that is the glue that I think holds people in a company more so than anything else. It's not about the money, it's about who they're working with and the people that
Right.
surround them. um,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I think
My
one
first managing broker, my
Mhm.
first managing broker was amazing. I was like, I want to be around you all the time. And she answered my call on like Sunday nights when I'm like,
Yeah,
I have to write an offer, but I have no idea what I'm doing.
yeah.
Then it means
Well,
the world to me. And,
you need that. You need that. You
yeah.
need that support because you have no idea what you're doing. I mean,
Right. But it
absolutely
doesn't
none.
come free, right? You can't expect this like great split and then have somebody answer your call on Sunday night. That's not true.
Right,
It's not both,
right.
right?
It,
Yeah.
it's probably not. I mean, there could be this miraculous place where that happens, but I doubt it. It's part of that person's life as well that they're giving to this business, and so they need to be compensated for that in some way, shape, or form. So the splits can vary widely from, and I saw this in something I was reading here, You know, a split can be just a static split, whatever it is. Some companies have 70-30, some have 80-20. You'll see some that say you get 100%, it's a transaction fee. Some places, like this is what we do, it's a graduated scale. So as your volume, you know, goes up, as you have closed more and more deals, your percentage will get higher, because met whatever the cost is to the company, technically. And so you deserve to get more of the profit. So that's part of it. And we haven't really talked about this, but a lot of, you know, there's different models for brokerages. There are some companies, which we've seen grow dramatically in recent years, where having a lot of agents in the office is important. And there are reasons why that is, because they need agents, whether they are producing or not. They don't really care if you're selling anything, because you're paying your office fees. And so for them, having those office fees is what pays for them to keep the lights on. So as long as you're still there and still paying your fees, they don't necessarily care. I mean, yeah, they'd like you to produce some, but they don't really care. And then there's also, you know, a cap. Let's say you're capped at a certain amount, and then you don't have to pay anymore. Well, okay, let me ask one question about that. So if you have capped, what motivation does that broker have to help you sell more?
Right.
If they're not getting a piece of the action, aren't they going to be more focused on helping this other person over here who hasn't capped yet? And the more, if they sell more, they're going to get more of those dollars. So that's where I think the capping model, you know, can be a good thing and a bad thing. And you just have to kind of think that through a little bit.
Right. So if I'm a new agent and I sign up and I realize that this could be happening, what would you say that I do? Like, can I just leave a brokerage whenever? Or like if they're just trying to pump me full of fees or fees from me, not giving me any training, and the answer is go call expired listings or go buy a lead. If someone's saying that to you, probably not. What do you do?
Well, you can absolutely just leave. I mean,
is that hard? Can you just?
It can be. I mean, it can be hard for a number of reasons. I mean, I think typically agents, if they have anything in the pipeline, it's always they're waiting for that deal to close before they leave.
Okay.
Or, you know, different things. Now, depending on the company, what happens when you leave should be outlined in your independent contractors agreement when you come in the beginning.
Okay.
It should be outlined. It's kind of like the prenup.
Right.
When
you have any listings, we're going to keep it.
Right. We're going to keep it. If it's closing, you know, it stays with us until it closes, but we'll give you something, hopefully.
Right. But not always.
Your typical amount or no. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing if you don't, because somebody's going to have to take that over.
Right.
And take it to over the finish line. So if you don't get your full amount, okay, but you know, there needs to be a decent number there. But you need to figure that out in advance before you get to that point where you're going to have to start arguing about it. If it's all kind of laid out from the beginning, then okay, you know what you're facing if you decide you're going to leave.
Right.
And you can make that choice, you know, kind of from an educated standpoint. Where I know there are agents who've just gotten so mad at some point, they're just done and they're going to leave, but then it gets nasty.
Right, because that is misunderstood.
Right, and it's not in writing. Get it? It should be in writing. It's just like your contracts. Put it in writing.
Gotcha. Yeah. So if you're a new agent out there and you are considering, if you realize just listening to us that you're not getting support that should be happening, you must have it to be successful. 80% of realtors do not make it to the second year. So, you know, if you're not getting it, then it's time to make a change possibly. sometimes and I love this drives me crazy actually. When a new agent says, okay, I'm struggling, I can't get any business, and everyone says you need to join a team. What are your thoughts? I'm just going to take a back seat on this. What are your thoughts on teams? Maybe we could talk about why they're so popular. Let's have a candid conversation about this and just say what it is.
Absolutely.
Go for it.
So historically in the real estate industry, there were really not that many teams prior to, maybe 10 years ago.
Really? I didn't know that.
There's some companies where they still don't even really exist. So there were like husband and wife teams, maybe, a parent-child kind of thing where the kid was coming into the business. Right. That was the kind of team you saw. And then there was a big push, and I used to be a Keller Williams agent or back in my early days, and that's the whole Keller Williams model is based on building a team. It's 7th level success, and it makes a lot of sense if you do it right. There are a lot of issues there as far as the legal parts of our real estate world, the real estate commissions around the country. Really, there were no laws, no guidelines in place as far as how teams could and should function. So teams started proliferating as agents started thinking, okay, well, I want to build this team. I want to have all these people doing all this other stuff. So someday I can retire and still have passive income, or I can sell this whole thing, chunk of money, and I can go off into the sunset. So this became a very a big thing to have a team. And I mean, honestly, it came a lot out of the whole Keller Williams model.
Okay.
And then it has spread across, many other brands at this point, many, independents. Everybody is all on board for this, the team.
But at inception,
for a new agent,
can I stop you for 1 second? At inception, the idea is to have one person be able to retire. Okay.
Yes.
Continue.
Right. And if you're a new agent and you're joining a team, that one person is not you.
Oh, noted. Yeah.
So just understand, I think teams, if your ultimate goal is to have your own business and to build, you're an entrepreneur, you want to build your own empire, joining a team, maybe not necessarily the best thing for you. Maybe if you join a team early on, to gain some understanding and get more educated about the industry, okay, just know that you're doing that, for that reason, and that you're giving up a significant portion of income for that education.
Yes.
Because when you're splitting on a team, you have the office split, then you have a team split, so your income is going to be whittled down a good bit.
Yeah. And you probably are not making a profit at all. And you still have to pay tax. That's exciting.
Right. Now, and again, it depends on the team structure. Some teams will pay a lot of the expense of the agent, so that takes off that piece in the beginning when they're trying to get started. But ultimately, most, I would say almost probably all agents who are really good and soon learn that they don't want to be on a team anymore. They want to go out and create their own empire.
Right. So, and I think that it's worth clarifying that when we say team, we're not saying not support. So people who have transaction coordinators or have people that are supporting them in the back, that's not what we're talking. We're talking about buyer's agents and listing agents all under one person who is not client forward. That's who we're talking about, right? Right.
So what they call is the rainmaker. It's typically at the top of the team. And then the first thing they'll do is hire a buyer's agent, assuming that they're generating way more leads, buyer leads than they can handle, because typically this person is going to be a listing agent.
Right.
And then, they may hire 1 or 2 or 3 buyers agents, depending on how good they are at generating the buyer agent leads.
Right.
Because if they have a lot of listings, they might be generating a lot of leads.
Mm-hmm.
And then they may then hire a listing specialist that comes on board and helps them, create more listings, get more listings,
Mm-hmm.
and then that creates more buyer leads. And so then they have more buyer's agent. And then it can, as it grows, it gets more and more. You have to hire more admin to help, transaction coordinate. You have
Right.
listing coordinators because they're having to handle all these listings over here. So you have this huge, mess
Right.
going on. And the one other thing I will say
is the client in there. Where does the client live?
Where's the client in that whole deal? And it can get very confusing for a client, because often the person that's at the top of the pyramid, their name is the one that's all out there, but the client is never going to see that person.
Right. I had a listing appointment last weekend, and she was, I was in interviews. I think she said she had 6 people in. Mm-hmm. And one of her questions was, am I ever going to get to talk to you? Can you believe that? You are selling your biggest financial asset. And one of the questions you have to ask somebody is, will I ever see you again? Like, no wonder our stats are so funky, right?
Yeah. Well, and I think that's not uncommon. I mean, I think there's a lot of large teams, you may have the listing agent go in and do the listing presentation, and then they're gone. There's the rest of the team is handling it from that point forward. So
yeah, and then you get to walk away with maybe 33%, and you got to pay tax on that and your mortgage, and you're the ones whose heart and soul was in there. And then another thing too, and I always say this to new agents, don't give away your database. That's where your money lives. That's where all your referrals are going to come from. Do not give it to anybody else. It's yours. If you want to be a rainmaker, if you want to be the one that's in charge of your own business, do not give that away.
Absolutely.
Lecture over. Stepping from the soapbox.
Yeah, it's absolutely true. I mean,
do you want to talk about these stats?
Oh my goodness. So
do you want me to tell you what they are first?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, here's the report card from NAR of a realtor's business, 15% repeat, 19% referral. Thoughts on that?
So word for word, that's all right. So first I'm going to say about statistics and all that. There's lies, damn lies, and then there's statistics. So they, you can kind of make up a statistic to support whatever it is you're trying to, to say almost. But in this particular case, it's talking about, and it's the typical realtor. Okay. It's not the realtors who are successful.
Okay.
So the average, the median, realtor out there is only getting that small percentage of their business from repeat and referral clients.
Okay.
The truly successful ones, if you go and polled, the top 20%, I would almost be willing to bet you that about 80% of their business is coming from repeat and referral business.
That sounds like a
growing
challenge.
That. Mm-hmm.
Should I do that?
Well, you can. I know that's true though, because I've seen that somewhere else before. But
let's find that.
They're really great agents because they're growing that sphere. The more clients that you make happy are going to go out there and talk about you. We talk about it here in our office. It's your 10 people. Who are the top 10 people that are going to be the ones that if someone asks them, if they know a realtor, your name's going to be the one that comes out of their mouth like that. And they're going to be, telling everybody all about you right and left, whether it be your family, a past client, a neighbor, whoever it is. Those 10 people, those are your core sphere, the ones that you need to be loving on all the time. You
Mm-hmm.
know, that you want them to know that you love them as much as they love you.
Right.
And then that will grow your business. I mean,
Exponentially.
amazing.
Yeah. I mean, I doubled during a
So,
pandemic and it was
great.
100% referral.
Yep.
It's
Yeah.
totally doable, which then takes me back to that conversation that we just had about that whole big pyramid and nobody knows
Uh-huh.
who's going to talk to who.
Right.
The way that somebody refers is they say, this experience with Laurie was so amazing. I want to tell someone else about it.
Mm-hmm.
And if they're just being, what's that game, Blinko, where
Oh yeah.
you
Yeah.
just drop the
Yeah.
thing and that's how I
Yeah.
picture a client going through a team. It's just like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what to do. And then why would they refer? Right? Because they weren't important. But if you're the one that's like, you are so important to me because my business lives and breathes off of how you feel about my service,
Mm-hmm.
money, and it's
Right.
less expensive than buying a lead.
Absolutely. I mean, we talk about referrals, and we had to talk about cold leads, warm leads, hot leads.
Okay.
Okay. An internet lead is a cold lead, pretty
Okay.
much. It's a warm lead is one that, somehow they came to you specifically. And I would say a super hot lead is somebody that was sent to you specifically and they are saying they want to buy something or they want to sell something right now.
Right.
So, yeah, so we love the warm and the hot leads. They're a lot easier to work with. They've already got some knowledge of you. And I
Mm-hmm.
guarantee you, if someone has said, oh, you should go work with Shelly, they have Googled you. They have, found out everything they can find out about you
Mm-hmm.
before they even call you. I hope they do. I mean, I would. I know
Right.
I would. I might even Spokio you to find out all I can. I'd like to know who I'm talking to. And,
Right. Well, that too, and
uh,
like back to
but
what we
yeah.
were talking about before when you were talking about reviews,
Mm-hmm.
and Molly McKinley talks about a digital footprint, like when they put your name in, what are they going to find? Like being in control of that is really, really important. What will they find? If it's you, like, with your pants down at a punk rock, like that's not great for business.
Absolutely not.
Unless you just want to work with people who like to rave, then so be
Right. Right.
it.
And that could be. I know there are people like that. I mean, it's like you do want to, I mean, you're going to find over time that the people that are attracted to you are the ones that you share a lot of things in common with. And that's just kind
Right.
of the way it is. Those are the people in your world. That's going to be the case. So that's what I do say. You want to be yourself, and you want the world to know who you are,
Mhm.
even, to some extent at a personal level, not every detail of your life,
Right.
not the private level, the
Right.
personal level.
Like I had granola
uh,
this morning, and
yeah,
how are you?
yeah, yeah.
So like knowing your
So
origin story, is that what you mean?
yeah, yeah, and just who you are, what what you do. I mean, if you look at me, I mean, my social media is not all about real estate. It's
Not
very
at all.
little about real estate, my private page. But it's about who I am. It's about, a lot of quotes that I think are interesting. It's, I think they're
They're
funny or
hilarious.
provocative or
They're
make
good.
you think about things. There's, my grandchildren and my two granddaughters are on there a lot because I love them and they're a big part of my life. My crazy dogs and puppies I had recently. I mean, I'm a dog person.
Right.
If you want to talk about your dog, call me up, send me
Right.
pictures. I love it. So,
Mm-hmm.
those are the kinds of things. Joe Scott, my dear friend, he has built a business, not entirely, but a significant bit of it around the dog park in Boston, where he takes his dog every day and he meets people and talks to people.
Right.
And that's where he gained a ton of clients. He's actually got agents that work for him now that he met in the dog park.
Right.
So it's the people that you end up working with are going to be part of your daily life. And that was the other thing when, somebody asked me about, being transactional. And I said, you're
Mm-hmm.
going to struggle. for us, our clients are part of our lives before, during, and after the transaction. It's
Right.
not like they just suddenly needed to buy a house and and so now I'm going to talk to them. There are people in the community that I know and we've done a bunch of things, with. We have big events that we invite, our past clients to, people who've referred business to us, and just friends and other colleagues like mortgage brokers and things like that in the business to come. They're all part of how we gain business,
Right.
or have. And so we love on those people as much as we possibly can.
Right.
And that was a tough thing to do in a pandemic.
Yeah. I did a lot more mail outs than I usually do of like gifting.
Yeah.
And it was from, you need to make your phone calls because you need to know how your people are feeling
Yeah.
and then meet them on the place that they are.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't know who I heard this from. So if you're out there and I heard this from you, thank you very much. But it's something along the lines of you can't be somebody's realtor for life if you're not in their life, you know? So if you aren't participating in
Right.
what the things they care about, chances are that you're not going to stay top of mind or even be referred because they won't remember. Right?
Right.
Yeah.
And that's where I think it comes back to these internet leads, maybe people that you have nothing in common with and you would never cross paths with other than that one transaction. So maintaining a relationship with them after the sale is going to be 10 times harder. You can
Right.
only drip and poke and what was it, drip, poke, and
I
whatever on
have
people
no
for so long.
idea. Don't participate in that stuff.
The email, all the stuff, like, I don't know about you, but I get so many dang emails a day.
I just stopped
if it's
trying.
from somebody,
Yeah.
yeah. We talked about this the other day. We were comparing like how many emails we had in our inbox. Like
It's
thousands in there.
insane. And I was like, I can't clear them all. And I keep getting these flyers. And I put everything through the filter of, is this valuable to them? Is it something that they actually can use? Like if I'm giving information or I'm giving a gift or I'm making a phone call, am I providing something of value? If not, scrap it. It's not
Right.
just to make the touch is I'm from broadcasting, and we used to always get these clients that were like, I just want you to repeat my name 45 times and my phone number. Like, and unless somebody knows what you value and can see themselves in that value proposition, they're never coming ever. You can say your name a million
Right.
times and it won't matter. So I kind of look at the drip situation that way. Like unless it's valuable, don't do it. Don't touch just to
Right.
touch, you know? Yeah.
Right.
All
Because
right.
they
Well,
won't.
to close up, is there anything that we can support you on? Anything you're passionate about right now that we can support as a community?
Oh, gee. Well, hey, well, there's a couple of things that I'm obviously deeply involved in. Obviously, Rate My Agent, I'm very passionate about, the review thing. And,
Right.
and new agents, I highly encourage you to go claim your profile, get it up and running. It's free. It's free to claim. It's free to collect reviews. I
I've
mean,
got
there
one.
aren't too many things out there free. So, and start now. Start building
Yeah.
your review library now. So I would say, please, do that. Do it for you. I mean, not me, not Rate My
Right.
Agent. I mean, there's things you can do later with all your reviews that are wonderful, and we'll talk about that at some point. But do this part for you. And then I'm an Inman ambassador, so we're getting ready to have our first live event in October. Knock
That's
on
right.
wood.
Is that Vegas we're
Um,
going to? I think
Vegas.
I got my plane ticket already. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
do too. I got that. So yeah, I mean, I think go. I think that's again being part of that bigger world of real estate. Listening, learning, connecting. Obviously, connect. Huh? It's so important. It
Right.
really is. And again, going to these bigger real estate world events has been a huge part of, I would say what my success has been in the industry. So I highly encourage people to do that as well.
Awesome. We'll send out information on how to do that if you are interested. I want to quickly just invite everybody who is a new agent. If you want to come with us, Laurie is our week 4 trainer. New Agent 365 Missions is closing this Sunday. Actually, this is the last chance to enter. What we do is over 12 weeks, we learn one thing to implement into your business so that you can become the rainmaker that you want to. We're teaching entrepreneurs how to start up a business in real estate. It's $100. You're going to meet 12 different amazing trainers, and our goal is just to provide you with the knowledge that you need to go out and be awesome for your client, because our industry counts on you to show up and be amazing. So if you go to newagent365.com, you can sign up there. It's $100 and I'll send you some books and you'll meet Laurie on week 4.
Yeah, I'll be there.
So wait, I will be there every Monday and you will not like the singing, but whatever.
And I will say, I mean, that is probably going to be the best $100 you ever spent.
Ah, nice.
I mean,
I didn't even ask her to say that, you guys.
No. But, there's so many great people. I'm there, but there are so many very smart and talented people that are along with you each week, that I wish I had had that kind of help in the beginning.
Yeah, me too. Well, I did actually, I did have a lot of help, more than most. So I'm just trying to give it back, yeah, along with the rest of us, honestly. So, okay, well, we'll see everybody at New Agent. And Laurie, thank you so much for your time today. We'll send this out and I'll put it on the interwebs and all the things.
All righty.
Have a wonderful day.
Bye, everybody.
Talk to you later.